A project to preserve historic town records moves forward. The planning board reviews a plan to regulate parking in Hyannis, and we have details on the upcoming Citizens Police Academy. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mannel. Town Clerk Ann Quirk hopes to preserve about 21 historic books of town records. Quirk went before the Community Preservation Committee to request $30,000 for the project this week.
I would allow you to see this, but you'd all have to put gloves on, okay? Just so you're aware, this is one of the objects that I have to get put into Mylar. The pages are actually disintegrating. It has been preserved before this, many years ago, I assume. But these pages are so delicate that this stuff is just falling apart. This is our history. You know, we have to keep this stuff. I don't know if you can see this. I'll walk around with it. But you can see the edges of the pages are seriously just disintegrating, so that the words are, we're losing some of the words around the edges of the pages. So this is one of the ones that would have to go into Mylar. So they take each page out to try to clean it up without losing anything, and then put each page into a Mylar sleeve.
What about the tape?
That was from, I don't know who did that. From long ago, they did tape. And tape ruins the pages.
What is the date of this?
This one is, this is book number 3, and I believe this is 1700s. I'm not, yep. Can you read the date?
1728 or something like that?
1728.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Unbelievable.
Okay, see this, you can see how it's all, that was a date up there that you can't read anymore. So it has to be preserved. I mean, this is our history.
The Community Preservation Committee voted unanimously to move the request to full application status. Quirk will go before the Community Preservation Committee for its official approval next month. The request will also need to be approved by Town Council. The Planning Board reviews a proposal by the Town Council Parking Subcommittee during its meeting this week. Director of Growth Management Joanne Miller-Buntich says the plan aims to reduce congestion on Ocean Street near the harbor and ensure access for emergency vehicles.
Okay, so if you look at 240, 24, 10, 1, right on the first page, purpose of intent. So the idea was, in some of these areas, parking is not an allowed use. How were they going to solve any zoning problems? So the council wanted a zoning solution for this problem. So under the purpose and intent there, I think explains why. So the section allows as-of-right permitting for land located south of Main Street in Hyannis, which land has some legal pre-existing non-conforming status or was licensed as of May 1st, 2014, as an open-air parking lot involving the temporary storage of vehicles. The scope of such uses would otherwise have to be clarified through a quasi-judicial or regulatory process. So then we go on and on. So in a nutshell, what all of this zoning does, and you folks know that zoning is never one page, it allows as of right open-air parking, but sets out a series of performance standards to which they must adhere. Also included in this process very closely have been the fire safety official, the building commissioner, the regulatory services director. I'm probably going to be leaving people out. Of course, growth management staff has looked at it too. So there's your purpose and intent. And then the rest of that is the usual. When we do overlays, you have to have all those, it does this, it does that to this overlay. Then on the next page, you see the definitions section. We all learned a lot about these things: emergency access aisles, fire lanes, parking attendants, remote parking sites. Had to take into consideration some of these lots have other uses on them, so to make sure that any lots licensed and zoned for parking were not double counted. So in other words, if you had a hotel on your lot, you needed X number of spaces for your hotel, it's only the extra, that could be used for licensed parking. And you have to make that demonstration. So then there comes the site development standards, which don't exist now. So you have access management, you have the computation of spaces, you have the dimension of the spaces, and demarcation. This is still, it's pretty much together, but it's not quite ready for prime time. The demarcation, we really are taking a good look at that. So you have dirt lots. How do you mark spaces on dirt lots? So we've done some research on that too, and come up with, most places use the concrete wheel stops. You know, you have to install the wheel stops, and then that's a way to demarc. The other demarcation that's important is keeping the emergency access aisles open. Can't have dead ends. You know, the fire safety official the fire equipment has to be able to get in and out of there. So in looking at this, some of these uses across the country, stacked parking is okay, you know, when you have like maybe 1, 2, 3, or even 4, but we just never had any provisions for it, so it was questionable, is it allowed, is it not allowed? So only in these little areas here, we're saying that stacked parking is okay. Talk about lot circulation, we talk about landscaping and fencing, and lighting. This is the same lighting standard that's imported from the rest of the growth incentive zone. Signage is what signage is. Signage, you know, it's again whatever the signage says. And then the council wanted to make sure there was provisions for the accessory structures, such as kiosks and trash receptacles. And then, if you see at the very end there, we discovered that we have no provisions in the zoning for people being able to shuttle people back and forth from place to place. So we need to add that to the growth incentive zone generally, not just only in the overlay district, but to allow other folks to shuttle people around should they need to.
The Planning Board will soon hold a public hearing on the proposed parking overlay district before any vote is held. Residents will soon have a chance to learn firsthand how the Barnstable Police Department operates. Police Chief Paul McDonald says the 28th session of the Barnstable Police Citizens Academy will begin next month.
This is the 28th Academy. It started back in 1999. We've had over 1,000 residents go through the Academy. It's a 14-week program. It runs for 3 hours from 6:30 to 9:30. And it covers every aspect of law enforcement. It's a complete familiarity with the Barnstable Police Department. You know, it starts off with an introduction, you know, into what we do, and then it goes into every aspect of policing. You know, when it culminates with the last 2 weeks, you know, everybody has the ability to go out for a ride along, and they can pick any 4-hour block of time they want: day shift, midnight shift, evening shift, and that seems to be the highlight. They really get a first-hand experience to see what the police officers go through and how they react to different incidents. And a lot of times people come back and they want to go for a second ride and third rides, and you know, that's great. And they go out, once they graduate, they become ambassadors for the police department, and that's basically how we fill our volunteers. We have over 60 volunteers that work here at the headquarters station and our 2 substation, and we get these volunteers through the Citizen Police Academy. You know, once they go through the academy, they graduate, they want to stay, you know, keep that affiliation going on with us, so that they become volunteers.
The 14-week program begins September 8th. You can visit barnstablepolice.com to sign up. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will chat with Cape and Islands Workforce Investment Board Executive Director David Augustino. We'll also talk with Director of Assessing Jeff Rudziak, and we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.